Hey everybody, good afternoon. I am Bonnie Barclay. I am the owner of Creekside Counseling and Wellness, and this is week 2 of my new series, Facing Fears. And so today we're going to be talking about fear of failure, but I also want to talk about success and how that weaves into failure and how we believe about ourselves or what we believe about ourselves. So let's kind of look at this whole thing about fear of failure. Most people do not like to fail, but for some, failing presents a significant psychological threat. So let's start with defining failure. Failure is defined, if we Google it or look it up, as a lack of success, the omission of expected or required action, or falling short. So last week we talked about threats around uncertainty and how this can lead to worry, the what ifs, the hunt for certainty. And if that can't be figured out, then we avoid, and that becomes a survival mechanism. So, this fear of failure can cause people to also unconsciously sabotage their chances of success in a variety of ways, but that's a whole other Facebook Live topic. So, let's unpack this fear and then move into trying to define and understand success, which I think is critical to addressing both. A fear of failure is essentially a fear of shame. And that's really important, so I'm going to repeat it. A fear of failure is essentially a fear of shame. People who have a fear of failure are motivated to avoid failing, not because they cannot manage the emotions of disappointment, anger, frustration that accompany such experiences. That can certainly be a part of it, but failing also makes them feel deep shame. So let's talk about shame. Shame is a psychologically toxic emotion because instead of feeling bad about our actions, which is guilt, or our efforts, which is regret, shame makes us feel bad about who we are. Guilt and regret, those are solvable problems. Shame is about who we are, and we sit with the idea of then what do you do with that? If I am a bad mother, if I am bad, if I am inadequate, if I am a failure, if I'm not successful, I am something, then what do you do about that? So, owning and leaning into the fear, we talked about this last time, how it can help you understand it better. It can help you challenge any BS around what your brain is telling you and enables you to then work on the real problem by defining areas of control and what you can and cannot control, right? So, what are some things you can control related to failure? Number one, redefine it. Behind many fears is worry about doing something wrong, looking foolish, or not meeting expectations. By framing a situation you're dreading differently before you attempt it, you may be able to prevent some stress and anxiety altogether. Set approach goals, not avoidance goals. Goals can be classified as approach or avoidance based on whether you're motivated by wanting to achieve a positive outcome or you're trying to avoid an adverse one. Approach goals calm your brain down, teaching it that what you fear is not so bad. And we talked about that with the amygdala being that scanner of all things danger, and how our brain is designed to overestimate a threat and underestimate our ability to deal with it. So when you set approach goals, then you are again teaching that brain to say, hey, maybe this isn't so bad. The next one is to create a fear list, or in psych terms, like a hierarchy of how we're going to approach those fears. And when you create a list of what you're afraid to do and accompany that with this idea or belief of what you think is going to happen, then you can begin to define a plan to tackle some of these challenges, both training your brain and achieving what you want. And that's a huge impact when you can really start to mark those things off as you approach them and that anxiety begins to go down. There's a habituation process. So when you approach fears, there's that habituation process where you teach your brain that. Or there's a learning theory where you start to say, hey, you know what? Even though this is still stressful, in learning theory, I begin to understand that I can handle it. And it's beautiful if you learn both. So the last thing I want to talk about around failure is the third thing is to focus on learning. So the chips aren't always going to fall where we want them to. And if you understand that going in, you can be prepared then to wring out the most value out of an experience, no matter what the outcome. What can you learn? What did you learn? And personally, I've learned a lot from my failures. So, okay, now what about success? So, by definition, success is the accomplishment of an aim or purpose. Well, that's broad. So when this question is asked, many often think of it as doing well at work or earning a high salary, getting a promotion, a new title, all of those things work related. And while professional accomplishment can be one component, it leaves out many other important areas of life, like family, romantic relationships, academics, athletics, and those are just other few areas. So success is something that you must define for yourself. No one can do it for you. And that's hard. I mean, I know it's hard when I'm asked that question, right? What is success to you, Bonnie Barclay? So success doesn't have a certain timeline or deadline. It doesn't mean a certain age or time frame that you have to get something done. And it can't be about someone else's measures or metrics either. And I believe these things change over time. So it's really important to be checking in with yourself about what that looks like. We all do this though, don't we? Don't we compare? Don't we look at other people's measures and metrics when we're looking at success? And that's a real problem because it usually leaves us feeling dissatisfied and inadequate. And that's something we're going to be talking about next week, but more about that later. So success doesn't mean copying what someone else is doing. Comparison sets you up for failure from the start. Comparison sets you up for failure from the start. And we all do it. But it's important to catch it because this practice will cause you to lose sight of your strengths and accomplishments. The wrong kind of comparison puts attention on the assets of other people rather than focusing on your strengths and your goals. So ask yourself, do you wind up chasing someone else's dreams rather than pursuing your version of success? Do you know what that is? Success is determined by the ability to reach your goals, whatever those goals may be. So let's look at this. What can you do to boost your chances of achieving these things? What are some of the habits of successful people? And while there are many, today I'm going to talk about 3 different habits. And the first one, growth mindset. 2, emotional awareness or intelligence, emotional intelligence. And 3, grit or mental toughness, which in psych terms involves the skill of distress tolerance. So let's go with number 1, a growth mindset. Research by psychologist Carol Dweck suggests that there's 2 basic mindsets. that influence how people think about themselves and their abilities, a fixed or a growth mindset. Those who have a growth mindset feel that they can change, grow, and learn through effort. People who believe that they're capable of growth are more likely to succeed. When things get tough, these are the people that are looking for ways to keep working towards success. What can you do to build a growth mindset? Really lean into the idea that your efforts matter, that effort and hard work can lead to meaningful growth. Learn new skills. When faced with a challenge, look for ways to develop the knowledge and skills you need to move forward. That's that whole power of yet. I don't know how to do this yet. View failures as a learning experience. Again, what value can you wring out of these failures that you are experiencing? So, 2, emotional intelligence. Emotionally intelligent people are able to understand not only their own emotions, but are curious and want to understand the emotions of others as well. To improve your emotional intelligence, pay attention to your emotions. And that's hard for us, especially in this day and age where we're always focused on something, our phone, our computer, all the things, all the stimulation. And it's hard for people to set aside time to get quiet, to really be introspective and self aware. And it's important in seeking success to really know ourselves, what's going on, and really look at those emotions. They give us a lot of good information. Manage those emotions. Be able to step back and try to view things with an impartial eye, avoiding bottling up feelings and looking at ways of dealing with them in healthy ways, healthy outlets for your emotions. Listen to others. This not only involves hearing what they're saying, but truly being present, connected, and seeking to understand their experience and point of view. And the last one, that grit or mental toughness thing. Mental toughness refers to the resilience to carry on and continue trying, even in the face of obstacles, trying to see challenges as opportunities and being able to commit finishing whatever you start. Both of my kids are swimmers, actually distance swimmers, both swimming in college. And I remember when they first started swimming distance, and I would hear these other parents, I would look at the distance and think, oh my word, are they going to drown? And people would say the first step to swimming distance is surviving it, and then you learn how to swim it. And this is so true. I have watched this. It takes grit to stick with it till you really learn to swim it. And that is a huge component to success, that grit piece. What can you do to improve your mental toughness and increase your chances of being successful? Again, believe in yourself. Our brain is wired to underestimate our ability to handle tough things. We can do more than we think we can, or at least that's what our brain tells us that we can't, and we can. Look for ways to stay positive, self-encouraging, keep trying, set realistic goals, and find support, mentors, friends, coworkers, family members, those people that reflect that back to you when you don't have it in your own tank. They give you that encouragement that you need. So finally, I want to talk for a minute about when you define success, it is important to be aware of the trade-offs and really understand that so that you understand that you can't have everything. There's always trade-offs. Sometimes we do not explore and consider this, and we can sabotage our success when we try to avoid and not really lean into the idea that there are trade-offs and there's an impact with these trade-offs. So it's important to consider that no aspect of your life can ever be fully separated. Putting more focus on one area automatically is going to reduce focus on another area. You want to make more money? You can, but something else has to give. You want more time with family? Want to help others? Want to purchase or pursue a hobby? You can, but something else has to give. As with most important things in your life, your intention is important, but the results provide the real answer. If you want to help others by being a teacher, and that is your definition of success, you may make a decent living, but you will not be rich. And you must embrace that fact. If you're happy and your definition of success is helping others, then you have achieved success. If you build $100 million company and that is your definition of success, you can have a family, but it will almost be impossible to have the same engaged family life as someone else. And you must embrace that fact. And if you are happy, then you have. If you're not happy, then you need to rethink your definition because it's not working for you. And the beautiful thing is, you can rethink it. And sometimes that's part of the failure in discovering what really is your definition, is by that trial and error, by leaning in and being aware of your emotions as you're pursuing the things that you thought were your goals and your dreams and your idea of success. Not only that, but it's going to change as you change and grow as a person. So the hard truth for today is whether or not you're successful depends on how you define success. There are trade-offs, and the trade-offs you are willing to not only accept but embrace as you pursue that definition of success are important to understand. It also depends on how you define and manage or respond to the failures you are sure to face. The takeaway for today: put your definition of success in writing. Write out your fear list. Is there a way to redefine some of these or lean into them to retrain your brain, to develop the distress tolerance and the mental toughness to put the growth mindset into action? How can you develop the skills and supports to begin viewing and managing or responding to failures differently? So next time we're going to be talking about the fear of inadequacy. And part of that, I really want to talk about how important it is to love your own story, to love your story. So we're going to have so much fun with that. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. If you have any questions, please comment below. Any comments, I'd love to hear from you. And I will talk to you soon. See you, bye.